Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I'm but one of your hosts. And joining me, as always, is my go-to podcast compadre, Mr. Joe Lever. Joe, how are you doing this evening, my friend?
Most excellent.
Excellent. Working on my Mr. Burns impression. What a good show. And welcome to everybody else joining us here tonight. Thank you to everybody who's stopping back by for the umpteenth time. Or if you're here for the first time, Joe and I talk about movies, TV shows, games, comic books, all the things, cookbooks. We love it all. But before we get into the meat, the main portion of the podcast, we are going to be talking about a little bit of news. So, Joe, we got some disparaging remarks about our girl Wonder Woman from James Cameron, of all people. Do you believe that? This is what he said. He said that she's just an objectified icon, and it's just male Hollywood doing the same old thing. He claimed it's a step backwards from his own Terminator franchise, where Sarah Connor, he said that she's more not a beauty icon necessarily, but she's strong, powerful, and all that. And Wonder Woman was maybe a step in the wrong direction as he sees it. And I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on what you thought about that, because you and I gushed over Wonder Woman, and I didn't feel like that at all. But what do you think?
Who said this?
It's not James Cameron, not Peter Jackson. Oh. He's like, the women in my movies are so strong. All three, four. No, I'm just kidding. Not that that's like a problem. They're strong women. Eowyn and Arwen are also great, and Galadriel. But no, James Cameron.
It's a step backwards?
Yeah, which is kind of, I don't know. But yeah, what do you think about it?
Got a whiff of the good stuff and was floating pretty high that day. Jeez,
Well, I feel like a lot of it comes from, it's weird because, you know, he did Terminator 2 and Avatar and Titanic, and they've had strong females in there, but I don't know, it's just different characters. You know, Sarah Connor is a lot different than Wonder Woman, you know, Diana Prince, so it's like, you know, they don't need to necessarily fulfill the same role. And I think Wonder Woman's supposed to be beautiful for not just because of how she looks, you know, physically, but because she's compassionate and strong-willed and has a good heart. So maybe that is a little bit more. Maybe she's not rough and tumble as he would want her to be, but I don't know. What do you think anything about that? Do you think that's a bunch of just bollocks?
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, what would he have done differently to make it how he wanted? I don't understand.
Yeah, well, it seems like, you know, I think of Sarah Connor, like we said, kind of more of like a gritty, more realistic, and then I think of and then I go with like Titanic, where you have like Rose, where she's like very prim and proper though. And then you go to Avatar, where you have like Sigourney Weaver, but then you also have like Letty from Fast and Furious, who's like a helicopter pilot, and Zoe Saldana, who is a Na'vi. So it's like he kind of has some like, just like, he's got women across the board. So I don't know why I think he said he still thought the movie was fine, but he wasn't a big fan of that. I just thought it was just an interesting thing for him to come out and say. And some people speculate that it's it's just him saying like, hey, I'm still here and I'm working on Avatar movies, but I don't have any news for you right now. So here's just like a hot take, as it were, just to kind of get people fired up. So all that means is that he really needs to bring the pain when it comes to these next Avatar movies to have strong female characters, you know, like you better bring that. Do you think that he can accomplish that in these next 4 Avatar films?
No.
Just flat out.
I have no more comments to him. I think he's an asshole.
All right.
The next movie tanks.
Tanks
hard.
That's the problem, Joe. It's not going to tank. That's the problem. Everybody saw Avatar like 3 times. I'm like, why? Sorry. Anyway, Avatar's not the worst movie. Don't get angry. It's just that it's just a really up-res to Pocahontas. So, Joe, how do you feel about this? Apparently, we got some information about Godzilla versus King Kong, and I believe the director said that there will be a definitive winner. There'll be a definitive winner. And for people like me who have seen the old Godzilla vs. King Kong, or King Kong vs. Godzilla, I think it was, there was a definitive winner. Spoiler for that. I'll put my hands out when the spoiler's done. But King Kong wins. And it's funny because they both like come out of the water at the beginning, and then King Kong just like goes back out into the water. Like they both just showed up at a place, then fought. And then, so my question to you, Joe, is now that we're out of the spoilers for that, who do you think is the definitive winner for King Kong versus Godzilla? Like, truly, who do you think is it going to be?
Well, it depends. Is King Kong size-wise the same?
Yes. No, they're upscaling him. He was just an adolescent in the more recent Kong Skull Island, so he's gonna be on par roughly with Godzilla as far as height goes.
Yeah, King Kong wins.
Really? Why do you think that?
The opposable thumbs and the mobility.
So he's just gonna gouge Godzilla's eyes out.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
like Godzilla's like super tough, like armor hide and his atomic breath and his super big tail. Nothing.
Not to mention, I would think that Godzilla would get tired quicker because he's a reptile.
It doesn't seem to be much of a factor. Like, after we watched Godzilla again recently, Joe, so we know that he can kind of fight for a long time before he needs to like take a little breather and lay down for a bit and then just kind of wake up in the morning and be like, I'm back. So I don't know. The thing is, we know that Kong's susceptible to conventional weaponry and stuff like that, whereas Godzilla is not. Like, Godzilla's withstood the force of at least an old school atomic bomb, which is pretty impressive. So unless Kong like runs him through with something, I just don't think Kong. Honestly, I think when you look at it from just like a business standpoint, Godzilla's more marketable to have a future series and installment of. Not that he'll kill King Kong outright, but if you have Kong beat Godzilla, then like Kong is like the main, like that's where you focus on with your movies going forward. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. I agree with that. I'm thinking more from the like spot in real life who's winning. I guess from a movie perspective and longevity perspective, yeah, you want Godzilla to win because I think he's the character you want to keep building with. But
yeah. So do you have a pony in this fight? I know we've talked about this in the past. I'm a huge Godzilla fan. I like King Kong enough, and I saw Kong Skull Island, but I'm like, how, like, Godzilla's got the teeth and the claws and just the beam and all that stuff. It just seems like such a good suit of weapons,
Well, I heard that Kong Skull Island wasn't that good from another source.
Oh, really? It's fine. It's like I think we've talked about it before. It's like a 6.5. Honestly, it's kind of like Peter Jackson's old one, like the first part of that movie. Remember, Joe, when they're on the island? It's a lot like that, where it's like, oh, creepy things are happening all around me. But it's the only cool thing to me, honestly, Joe, was seeing Kong use weapons. Like he'd like wrap his arms in chains from like old ships and then like swing like engines and propellers around for like weapons, or he'd use like a tree trunk and he'd like strip off the branches and then like use it as a baseball bat. So it's like, oh, cool. If he can use kind of his surroundings.
There you go. There's I'm putting my money on him, like the Mayweather McGregor fight. I'm putting my money on Mayweather.
All right. Well, that's good because then we can go once we get a trailer. That's a good trailer master one right there, Joe. Because that trailer right there is like, how much can you show of that fight? Like it's like Batman versus Superman, where they'll show like a little bit. Like it has to be the whole movie that they fight, right? Like it can't be just like an 8-minute thing and then be like, well, it's over. Like King Kong won or Godzilla won and it's just done. So,
yeah, but here's what I envision. I envision King Kong picking up some sort of like steel I-beam off of a bridge or a big girder, freaking just wailing on Godzilla.
Yeah, I think that's gonna happen. It might like start out where Godzilla has the upper hand, and then Kong kind of goes down, but then grabs and like turns around, like Godzilla's about to like pounce on him, just like cracks him right in the face and kind of like sends him off his feet a little bit or something. Where it's like, oh, like like that was a good hit. It'll go in waves, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. But then like Batman versus Superman, they'll introduce a third party, like a new monster, like a Mecha Godzilla, that they have to team up to take down. Like Godzilla's about to finish him off, and then they're both just like, oh, and they like look over and they're like, we'll finish this later. You know what I mean? And then they just go and take care of that.
I just think King Kong's got such a mobility factor. Like even if Godzilla wanted to get claws on him or get a shot on him with that big beam out of his mouth, I don't think it'd happen.
Well, in the movie, he kind of uses it more so like point blank. So maybe he's just if Kong gets him in his grasp, he'll just be like, just like beam him right in the freaking face. So that way he's, just right there. I don't know.
I love the sound they play for that, where it's like a charred build-up type thing. It's cool.
The sound design in that movie, like guys, if you haven't seen it, it's seriously like a 10 out of 10. Just like from the Muto and stuff, like the noises they make, it's like, it's very good. It's like, listen to it with headphones on. It's just like very, very cool. Like, and that roar, man, like, holy Cafoli, I love that roar. I could just sit in a movie theater in IMAX and they could play it like 10 times and I'd pay like $10 for that or $15. It's like no visual, just like Yeah,
Yeah.
I just love Godzilla. So I'm excited for that fight, even if it's going to be definitive winner. I'm excited for that film. I just think that going forward, it's going to be just logistically, Godzilla's got more to work with. Because Kong, who does he fight by himself in a standalone film? Unless he like partner up with Godzilla, and it's like King Kong and Godzilla, buddies to the end, like, brothers in arms, fighting whatever else comes their way. So, but you're still excited about that, knowing that there's a definitive winner? Are you still hypometer wise? Does that change the meter at all?
Um, I mean, I'm hyped for it. Like probably a good 7.5 or an 8. I mean, I always like a good monster movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Good
I like the monster movies when they're bigger and super and crazier. Yeah, it's gonna be good. All right, Joe. That's enough news. There wasn't a ton of news this week, but those are some of the big things. It's been kind of quiet right now. There's a lot of interesting things like Crackdown 3 has been pushed back to 2018 and some other stuff like that. But and also Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle has come out, and I've heard some good things about that. So you guys should go check that out if you have a Switch at all. Weird game. Can't believe it's like as good as it is. It doesn't have any right to be this good, but I'm excited to try it out sometime. My buddy has a Switch, and I'm hoping to try it out, do a little review and progress for you guys here in the next couple of weeks. But Joe, we're talking Overwatch, and a new Overwatch short came out just a couple of days ago, Rise and Shine, kind of to discuss and explore the character of May.
Yeah.
Now, if you haven't played the game, May is a scientist who lives in Antarctica, and she was down there trying to kind of work on some experiments. She and you guys could definitely watch. I'm going to link this and all the other shorts down below so you guys can go watch a whole playlist of them because they are excellent. But that got me thinking that seeing this short, I was like, oh, we should talk about these Overwatch shorts. There are 7 of them now at least, and they are all, like, every one of them, I want everyone to know, they're all exceptional. Like Pixar, Disney Animation Studio level quality of detail and just beautiful visuals and cool just scenes and set pieces and all this stuff. And they kind of, each one of them is different enough from the others to make them all stand out. But
yeah,
this week,
well, I will say what you're saying about the animation quality, I mean, it is top notch. I will say I feel like the best one as far as animation goes is
the which one? The Bastion one?
Yep.
Yeah, I think and I think there's
a Bastion.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that one too, but yes, that's a very good one. And each of them, I think you could kind of attribute to another like actual animated film or kind of like a theme that you've seen in another movie before, but it's just done well enough and different enough where it's its own thing, which I appreciate. So this week, what I thought would be fun is Joe and I, we're going to go back and forth, do another top 3, and we're going to talk about our 3 favorite Overwatch animated shorts. So Joe, you do the honors. Would you tell us what your number 3 spot is out of the 7 we have to choose from right now? Because if you're watching this in the future, there might be like 20 of them because they'll probably make one for every character. But right now they kind of have 7, and that's and like I said, May is the most recent one. And I think we'll kind of we'll see how you feel about that one, Joe. But she's like, it's so new. I don't know if I could put her in my top 3, but it's still very good. But what's your number 3 pick? What's the one that you'd say takes the bronze medal?
How about it's tough. They're all really good. I'll give it to the last Bastion. There's not much dialogue or anything. It's mainly a visual type deal. But they still do a good job of putting emotion into it, and it tugs at your heartstrings for a second. And then when he's in the field and he picks up on the memories of the fallen Bastion there, it's really cool seeing like the battle scene with Reinhardt putting his shield up and stuff and all the Bastions doing their minigun. It's neat. And I love the animation. I feel like it's really well done.
Of course, you picked that one, and I'm going to segue quickly into my 3rd one. But that was going to be my 3rd choice too. I think that's a pretty cool one, and it kind of, if I had to draw a parallel to it, it'd be a lot like the movie WALL-E, like the first part of WALL-E, where it's just kind of a robot kind of in a natural environment trying to figure stuff out, and it's really interesting and cool. And I don't think any dialogue or any meaningful. It's just nothing. It's just Bastion communicating with a bird, this little bird friend who he meets, and just kind of living, just kind of trying to carry out his protocol and trying to figure out between that and just kind of being peaceful and natural. So like Joe, like you said, when he finally gets to the field where he sees another bastion and he kind of like checks the memory unit and then he gets teleported there. I think there's a really fun juxtaposition between all the natural, beautiful stuff in this short, and then they cut to like the war scene. It's like all red and death and everyone's dying, and there's like, it's either Reinhardt or another one of those knights who's like, you know, shooting that like fiery strike and then putting up his shields. And like all these robots are just shooting and killing all these guys, and it's like, oh my gosh. It's just like, it's, as I joke about the Austin Powers thing, like, remember that day back at the academy, and then you like flash back to it. And the rest of the short is just gorgeous, just every little detail, like on the sticks and just like the moss covering him, and like the bird pecks the dirt off of his eye at the beginning. It's like, it's incredible. Like the animation in that one alone, I think that's why it stands out so much more, because we focus on it because no one's talking, and you just are like, what am I even looking at? And then he kind of guns down the forest at one point because he hears a woodpecker kind of hitting a tree, pecking at a tree, and he thinks it's gunfire, and then he just kind of goes into like red death mode, just shoots a bunch. And yeah, it's just really good. And like you said, it does pull at the heartstring. It's there for like just a minute where you're like, and you think he's going to go off and, you know, keep fulfilling his protocol and kill the rest of the world by himself. But yeah, that's a great one. That's a really good pick for number 3, I think. So my question to you, Joe, is what or who takes silver medal in and amongst these 7 to choose from? Well, I guess 6 now.
Silver medal is Infiltration.
Oh, Infiltration. All right.
Reaper, Widowmaker, and a little tease at the end with Zarya.
Very good. Very good. So why does it get a silver medal?
First off, I like that there's 3 characters featured and then eventually a 4th in the end. But I also like the way they show off Sombra's abilities and her fast-paced motions, and also the, how do you want to say, the motives behind each character.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah,
Sombra's
definitely.
not necessarily a team player there, and I think it's cool. It delves a bit into the story a little bit when she meets up with that Velskaya Industries lady.
Yeah, definitely, totally. Yeah, with the extortion and all that.
Yeah, exactly. And I to be honest, and Reaper's been featured in a lot of them, but I love Evan Reaper featured in one. I just like to see him in action, although you don't see a lot out of him in this one, but it's cool nonetheless.
Is there any part of this particular short that you could point to and just say that is just one of the reasons why this is a standout to me? Is there like an action, or is there like a line, or is there any like a technique or visual where you're like, oh, I really love that right there?
Sombra's voice is really cool, but I like the way they show off her hacking. Like she's hacking like anything, and it'll help her to achieve her goal, sort of a deal. It's neat.
Yeah, definitely. Like that little, she's like typing it super duper fast. It's like up in the air. It seems like she could do it anywhere she is. It's like beep 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 beep. It's just like, oh, cool. Like
I can do that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, is there anything else you want to say about Infiltration being your silver medal winner?
No, not really. Besides, it keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's pretty cool. You know, I enjoy it.
Cool.
What's your silver medal, Jimmy?
I would have to say, and I kind of forgot about this one, but Hero from the one with features Soldier 76. That is the one that I think for me is like a silver medal. I really like that one. I think it kind of strikes this chord of starting off. It focuses on a young woman somewhere, I believe in Mexico, and you're kind of like, oh, where's this going? There's like gang violence and there's all these things that she has to deal with, and she's going about her day, and you see these gang members beating up an Omnic, and she has some money she was given to go and get the flour for her mom. Her mom needs the flour, and these guys are like, hey, like, come over here, like, you just come on, beat this thing up with us. It's just a bucket of bolts. And you see this really, like, the one thing that these shorts really do is make you feel something for the robots, the Omnics. And this Omnic is just like, the crap is like kicked out of this poor thing. Like the bolt, it's just like, it's got this like indent in its head, and it's like kind of cowering. It's just like, and it's like not trying to run away or anything. It's just like right there. And these guys have been beating it with like a baseball bat that's reinforced with steel. And eventually, like a truck pulls up and the guys run away and they take her money from her. And then you get this really cool sequence, which is very like Batman meets Predator kind of thing, where you have these guys who are doing like these arms shipments of guns, and he's there to clean up the streets basically because Jack Morrison, who used to be like the leader of Overwatch, is now kind of relegated to being a vigilante. And seeing him and like that red visor pop up, and like these guys, like when the lights go out, like all their tattoos on their faces like are all, they come to life. They're like really colorful and neon, and you see him like Soldier 76 in his element, and he's like killing people. Like a lot of these ones where you're like, oh, I'm not sure if they actually kill, like he's legitimately like shooting people, blowing people up, and running around like this crazy person. He's like, when he punches people, they go flying, and you're like, oh gosh, like this is like Captain America style, like oh, it's so good. And then there's this good moment near the end where the girl who's been kind of following this because they stole her money, she sees this and she gets in harm's way, and he, Soldier 76, has to make a choice in that moment. He's like, I should go after these guys. And then he like looks back at the girl, then he's like, ugh! And then, you know, obviously you can guess probably what happens there, but I love just hearing him talk about like, you know, I'm not a hero anymore. Basically, like, not anymore. I'm not a hero, and old habits dying hard, and just watching her get home at the very end. You kind of see her get home, and like you see him like over just the top, just kind of like he left, but he was never gonna like let her just go. It's just like, oh, he's a hero through and through, but he's still like a true badass. Like this guy he'll blow you up if he's got a problem with you, and he'll run out into gunfire, just dodging it, just shooting at you. And that moment he jumps and he targets 3 separate dudes up on the rooftops and shoots all of them, and like lands on a thing, and they all just fall over. And it's like, it's just really good. It just makes him super cool, and it's nice because if we talk about Reaper so much here, and we both love him, but it's nice to know that his counterpart can still be like a cool, like badass, like you don't want to mess with. So yeah, I think it's just a really good. They just do a good job of showing how cool that character is, even though it's just him in this one. I guess like Bastion, but I guess you got to see like a Reinhardt or something in that one. But I wish you could see like somebody like Ana or somebody else just show up, or maybe Sombra in Mexico. But I think that whole one is really good. I think it's very, very good. So
yeah, it's very original too, which I appreciate, and it's good.
Yeah, but like I said, it plays off a little bit like the Batman Predator thing. It reminds me of Batman Begins, where that guy's like, "Where are you?" And you know, he's just like, "Here," you know. And so like they can't see him, and he just shows up behind him, and he's just like punching people, knocking them out. And these guys are like, "We got to get out of here," because there's this old man who's killing all of us. But yeah,
definitely.
Yep. All right, Joe, give me a gold medal winner. Which national anthem are we playing tonight?
I want to see if you can take a guess, Jimmy. How well do you know old Joe, huh?
Let's see. So you already picked Infiltration as 2, because I probably would have gone with that for my number 1 for you. I would guess that you'd want to pick one that there was a character.
I'll give you a hint. It doesn't involve Reaper.
Oh.
And it's a character I don't play very often.
Is it only one character or 2 characters?
It's multiple.
Is it the Twin Dragons?
Yes, sir.
Woo,
Dragons.
Dragons, it's Dragons. My bad. All right, tell me about Dragons, Joe. Tell me Dragons, man. Tell me about Dragons.
So, obviously featuring Hanzo and Genji, who are brothers, in case you didn't know and you haven't seen the short. But so they're brothers. Genji is assumed dead by Hanzo. And this is on the map. What's this map called again? Hanamura, right?
I think so, yeah. Which that's another thing we haven't talked about, Joe. But this one in Infiltration, I can literally see, especially in Infiltration, I noticed this time, like the Volskaya Industries, when she vaults over at one point, I'm like, oh, that's the second point on that map. Like I'm like, like, anyway, continue.
Yeah, exactly. And but this one I really, really appreciate just because it's a basically a one-on-one feature. Delves into a relationship between 2 characters more so than some sort of goal or anything like that, but it's super well done, and it kind of has that old style nostalgic Japanese flair to it, which is really cool. I like how they mysteriously reveal Genji. Like Hanzo's going into the temple, and you see Genji standing on top of that small hut, in the moonlight. Drops in, he's absolutely silent, and Hanzo realizes he's there, shoots arrows, all that good stuff, and they have quite the scuffle. And they really featured Genji's sword play really well. It's really cool, like totally like slices an arrow in half slow motion, and Hanzo's just like, huh, and then charges him, and it's it's quite the fight. It's just really cool, and not to mention two really cool characters. I'm not big on playing Hanzo in the actual game. Yeah, he's somewhat mobile, but he can't retreat very quickly or anything. You can just get to good vantage points. And he's kind of more of a patient style gameplay. Genji is kind of the same way, only he's much more mobile, quick, and a blast to play. It's just he's not the guy that you run in there, run and gun, and you're going to pick up a ton of kills. He's more like, pick like a wolf hunting for the weak one of the pack. You see one with low health and shoot, slice, done. You know what I mean? They just really show them off really well with slow motion action and that sort of deal. I love it. And the setting is great. Nighttime in the moonlight in that temple, and then out on the balcony. And when you really break it down, I am an absolute sucker for dragons. Yeah. You don't always think it when you use like the Genji ultimate or anything, because you don't see the dragon too much. But here they really show it off. And when Hanzo shoots his, and then Genji like melds it in with Hanzo's, and then whips it around, and sort of like a cosmic dance. It's really cool, and reveals himself as his brother, and then he takes off like the mask piece of it, and you see kind of like a nearly dead human in there, and just see the eyes in the moonlight. It's really, really cool. And and Genji almost kills him, but then spares him and says there's still work to be done, sort of a deal. And I like it. I like it, and I like the whole tie-in of the whole dragon storyline. It's neat.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I guess my question to you is, with their ultimates there, the dragons, do you have a problem with that as far as, or insofar as it's like the one almost kind of really truly kind of magical ability besides maybe like Reaper's smoke that's like in the game? Because like most everything else is technologically based or science based, but right now the closest thing we could talk about is like maybe Symmetra's hard light magic or hard light energy. So like when he shoots, he just grabs an arrow, Hanzo, and then shoots it off, and it's like the dragons. He's like, only the Shimada clan can use the dragons, and you're like, well, like, is that like a passed down ancestral power? Do you like how that's not explained? It's just like,
I do like it, and it's fine. It's like, and that's where that kind of old style Japanese nostalgia comes in, and I love it. I think it's cool, and they kind of have these mystical ultimates that are exactly that. They're ultimate, and they're really cool, especially Hanzo's. I mean, that's a devastating ultimate. Think about it. I mean,
oh yeah, totally.
If you team up with somebody in the right way, like a Zarya ult or something, it's over for that team. But I just really like it, and I like the mystical aspect of it too. And it's not very slow paced either. Maybe a little bit in the middle portion, but
yeah. Well, you kind of hit on this again, and I'll use this word once again, but the juxtaposition, like we see with Bastion, from like the nice kind of like light natural environment to that crazy war scene. In this one, from like these beautiful, cool, like actual cinematic parts, but then like that old school Japanese, like somebody's narrating it, talking about the dragons and how these dragons have been fighting forever in that story, and how that correlates to the brothers that we see here. But there's so much to like here. Like when Hanzo initially runs up, he runs up that wall that like everybody runs, like you think you'd run up as a Hanzo, and he goes to run up that wall, and then he's like shooting people. So they establish his mobility and his power because he's already like dropping people right away, and he like shoots that guy's phone, and you're like, every one of these arrows could be like a kill shot. So later on when Genji's fighting him, you still feel like there's a danger there, but Genji's so good that he's just like blocking it. He's just backing away. He's like, it's totally fine. He's like the ricochet arrow, and he's totally cool with it. And it is really cool. It's cool to see them go back and forth, and it's interesting because they do a good job of explaining stuff. Because at first, when Hanzo breaks in there, you're like, okay, so you broke in here to like meditate in front of a shrine. You're like, that's a really weird thing to do. And then and then Genji he lands. He doesn't put his hand on the ground, which I absolutely love. I'm like, and then he kind of stands up and he talks to him. And they kind of go back and forth. He's like, why do you kind of risk your life for someone who's already dead? And he's like, oh, you don't even deserve to talk about my brother. And it's like, dude, how can you be so dense? This guy knows everything about you and you're fighting him and you're still like, who is this guy?
Yeah, right.
So, like, come on, Hanzo, yeah. The one, and then at the end, Genji does this like kind of
players. Hanzo's stupid.
Yeah. But at the end, when Genji uses like his little smoke screen and he like leaves the feather or whatever, it's like that's really cool, very ninja thing to do. And I guess his suit could do that. I was like, I want to see that ability in the game where he's like, and then it's like, but yeah, it's a good short. And watching Hanzo like go through when the dragons are hitting him, and he's just like that, and then it goes past him, and then he just kind of like drops to his knees, and then Genji like flies forward and puts like his Shoto like right to his neck, and he's like, kill me, and he's like, nope, and then he's like, oh my god, like that shot when they're both just like there, and he's like, I'm gonna like,
yeah, it's very cool, and it's got an aggressive styling to it, you know.
Yeah, it's
and Genji, you know, besides the whole dragon aspect, which I love, and I get that that's only featured because of their ultimates, but it's also shown through like the storyline, like the old tale, as it were. Yeah. But not only that, I think Genji, from an aesthetic standpoint, is probably one of the sexiest looking characters in the game. I really think his styling is probably like no other. I don't think anyone stands up to it. And even in the game, he's got some really a few really cool skins. And I love the suit design. It's neat. It really is. It's appropriate.
Yeah, so. It's very sleek, and a lot like Reaper and Soldier 76, where I want to see like the one cinematic, Joe, if we want to talk about this later, like that I want to see is their fight that kind of breaks up Overwatch and that Swiss HQ that blows up. I want to see the Hanzo Genji fight where Hanzo bests Genji as a swordsman and puts his sword down eventually, but he like basically kills Genji with his sword play. And I would love to see that would be kind of a graphic thing to do and maybe kind of hard, but like that would be a very cool thing to watch then, and then put this one on right after to say like, here's the difference like of their skill and stuff. And oh boy, I'd love to see Hanzo with a sword, and that would be a cool fight because for people who don't know, Hanzo's kind of like a bad guy, kind of like one of the leaders, I think of like the Yakuza or something. And Genji went against the clan, and out of honor and respect for the clan, Hanzo was kind of told and forced to put him down. And then he basically thought he had killed him, but Genji survived and then comes back with these cybernetic enhancements, which allow him to kind of go toe-to-toe with this guy. But it'd be kind of cool to see Hanzo pick up a sword again if he's like a true sword master, because he put it down and he just has the bow now because he was too good with the sword. Like if Genji's like a really good sword master, like Hanzo must be like almost there, you know, roughly, which is
yeah. So tell me this: should Overwatch bring or Blizzard put this feature into the game where you could pick like based on, like say a character's abilities changed a little bit based upon the skin you equipped?
That would be cool. I don't know if they would ever do it because it'd be too much work, but that would be really like if he had an old school skin like Hanzo did and he'd have like a sword or something, that'd be really cool. Yeah, I don't think they'd do it, but
like, do you want to pick Archer Hanzo or Sword Slinging Hanzo? And maybe he's just a Genji-esque character. He's exactly like Genji, only he's Hanzo. Maybe that's the deal. That would be cool if you had an optional choice like that, like Hanzo the swordsman or Hanzo the bow.
It sounds like we're gonna make a third-person like Devil May Cry game, and like it's gonna be Hanzo. It's like you have bow like third-person segments, and then you like switch to the sword, and you're like really good with the sword, and you're like, oh, Hanzo the game. Like that's what Blizzard wants to do. They're like, we're gonna make 21 or 25 different games for each character. Yeah, that would be pretty rad. Oh man, that'd be cool. Well, Joe, do you have anything else to say about dragons before we move on to my pick?
All I say is dragons are great. Game of Thrones rocks. I'm just kidding.
Goat, baby. Everybody loves goat. Yeah. So, all right, Joe, are you ready for the gold medal winner for me, my number one pick? Here it is. Believe it or not, Joe, it was one of,
Drum roll.
Do you want to take a guess?
Oh, I guess at your favorite?
Wait, what? Which? Yeah, guess at my favorite. I guessed at your favorite.
Sure. It's Recall.
It's close, but no, I do like Recall a lot, and I love that part where Reaper's like, "Stupid monkey," and then the thing blows up. Because I did that video a while ago about our Legion Legends, which we've never seen, but it's all on Reaper. It's like a few minutes just about his backstory, his abilities, all that, and going through and like picking out those moments from that one is so good. Because when you watch the whole thing, like Reaper kind of gets like. If you surprise Reaper, he's not used to surprises, but I just love Reaper because he's just like, oh, he's good. Yep. But it is not Recall. It's too much Winston. I like Winston, but not enough. So
Okay. Can I get a hint?
You were very close with Recall.
I'm looking at a list here, and I'm worried that all of them aren't here.
No, they're all there.
Alive?
No, but I watched that one. That one's pretty good. I'm not a huge fan of Tracer, but that's a pretty fun one. That's a cool one, actually. The Widowmaker in her prime and stuff like is very scary. So, yeah.
Okay, if I was close with Recall, then I don't know what it is.
It is Infiltration. You're number 2.
Oh, really? Okay.
Infiltration is so good. It's like a mini movie. And not only does it show off Sombra and her abilities and what she's like really, really well, but it also shows her as part of a team and a really dangerous, cool mission, like a true, like a lot like the one Alive, where it's like we have a target, we've got something to do here. And that's another cool thing about the Overwatch movies. There's like sometimes there's just like good guys win or bad guys win, or sometimes just neither. And I like that a lot. It's not always one or the other. But Sombra, I love seeing her interact with the team. I love the part when like Reaper goes up to the door and it opens a little bit, like just a crack, and then it shuts, and then he's like Sombra, and it's just, and she opens it up, and she got to do like a little smirk, like ha ha ha, like, you know. So you get a lot of a feel for who she is. She's kind of an anarchist, even when she's trying to get something done, even though she's very talented. And seeing kind of Widowmaker there too. You're right. There's this kind of an ensemble thing, which I really enjoy. But that moment when Reaper and Widowmaker are like, we're going in, and they go and they like take out 2 guards, and like Widowmaker grapples off and Reaper jumps, and they do this shot like from below where he's like flying over the top and lands into smoke, and then he just starts moving and stuff. It's like, it's like, that's a movie, man. This is an action movie waiting to happen, like this stuff. And then that moment when they get cut off and they can't get Volskaya, and Reaper says, you know, we'll take care of this. And Reaper goes in, and he's just guns blazing. He's just dropping dudes, and they're just like, what do we do? And he's going to get the shot on Volskaya, and all I'm thinking is, she's too far away for you for your lethal range, so unless you're using, like, a shell, buddy, you're not going to get her. But then Reaper kind of fights a mech for a hot second, and then he's like, Sombra, I've been cut off. It's up to you. And then the cool synth music kicks in, and she's running in there, and she's using all of her abilities and stuff. And you get to a point where you're like, okay, she's got a shot on this target, and then you see her true motivations, that she's extorting her, and she might not be working for Talon as much as people think, even though I think Talon knows that. But it's just cool to see, you know, there's more layers to this one. It's not just like an assassination mission straight up like Alive is. It's like, nope, there are multiple party members here who have different agendas, and we're focusing on Sombra, so you're getting introduced to her and her abilities, and you get to see why she's really there. And it's really cool. And I do like the Zarya tease at the end, which is funny because we all know Zarya. So like when they tease her, I was still like, oh, it's Zarya. Then I'm like, I know her. It's not like they like was like a new champion in the shadows who was just like, I will take care of this. You know, it wasn't anything like that. But I really like that short. I like, and then they cut back to Reaper, and he's defeated this mech, and you're like, what happened in there? Like, did you just shoot this thing like crazy and he just throws the guns at the end? He's like, just screw it. We screwed up, and we dang. But yeah, it feels like a mini movie, a mini action movie, and it just gives me hope for what Overwatch could be as far as a feature length film, because I see in each one of these like a part where I'm like, oh my gosh, like this could be something truly incredible, and I would love to see it. But I love Infiltration. I think it's really good. Even though it focuses almost all on Sombra, I love seeing Reaper do his work. I like seeing Widowmaker. I love the back and forth. And even Widowmaker, like looking down her sight at Reaper, and Reaper just kind of looks up at her, and you could tell, like, even though he doesn't have an expression on his expressionless mask, he's pissed. Like, he's looking up just kind of like,
Yeah,
what the heck?
yeah,
Like,
that's true.
this is amateur hour up in here. Come on, like, man. But Infiltration is such a good one. But yeah, Joe, do you have any closing comments on that or any of the shorts in general?
No, I don't have any particular comments, I guess. Something that I do find cool in my little bit of research I did to pick my top 3, I found other things that were kind of interesting, like fact type things and whatnots and things you didn't know. One of the things I thought was interesting is they relate to, or they show off things like Genji and Mercy have a relationship of some sort.
Yeah, I think I don't know if that's in the comics or something else, but there is definitely, I think the backstory there, I think that happens to be the case. I think so.
There are comics?
Yeah,
What?
they're comics. Yeah, definitely, dude. There's a really good one about McCree, and I was gonna tell people this too. We were covering the comics, and we also are covering like the new like Doomfist like anime. Like if they start doing anime shorts, like straight up like hand drawn crazy stuff, I love that one too. By the way, the animation there is phenomenal. But yes, they do comics. They did one about McCree. They did one about Widowmaker, Doomfist, Reaper, and I think Sombra. We're all at a party together, and they all had like different. They all had to dress up for it. It was really cool.
Yeah.
They've done a bunch of them actually. Symmetra, I think Torbjorn, Junkrat, and Roadhog. There's some really good like stuff with Overwatch that people don't necessarily know about. You have to go digging for it, which kind of sucks. I wish they'd put it all on the main like page or like for the game, the client, so you could be like, oh, there's a new movie out, and like this May one, which is very much like The Martian. Kind of like a person stuck stranded somewhere trying to get out, and I was like, oh, this is cool, but it's its own thing, and yeah, man, there's a lot to like with all this extraneous Overwatch stuff. It's there if you want it, but yeah, man, Genji and Mercy. Mm-hmm.
You know what else is really cool that I found is, and if anybody gets a chance to see it, it's let's see, it's 6 million views on it, but so this is earlier on. Let's see, January 3rd, 2017. 23 Overwatch voice actors in real life, and I think it's from like Comic-Con or something, and they have all the voice actors and they're kind of reading off lines and stuff. It's kind of interesting to see who plays the voice of each character.
Yeah. Totally. I think my favorite, or one of my favorites, just in the videos I've seen, who's like eating it up the most, is the guy who plays Reinhardt. He was also in Final Fantasy 15, but that guy is always ready to talk about Reinhardt and do the expressions and stuff. And the guy's like, he's embodying it, and people are just like, oh my gosh! And he's a jolly fella from what I've seen, which is
Darren DePaul.
Is that his name? Yeah, he's. All those voice actors are cool, though. They're all really interesting. One of my favorites is the guy who plays Winston, but he also plays Itachi Uchiha and a bunch of other characters in anime. But that guy's voice can be very sinister and dark, but at the same time, he does this big wince like, hello! Like, he can be this big, cool gorilla. And yeah, all those guys are so talented. And I just imagine, Joe, just keep getting called in for new events and stuff. Like, hey, we need you to come in and record some like Halloween stuff. You're like, sure. Like, sounds good to me. That's the dream right there, be an Overwatch character. I know Terry Crews wanted it, but
yeah, it's really interesting. Like the guy who plays Lucio, and then the guy who plays Genji.
Joe's just like staring at these poor people. He's like, do the voice for me. Yeah,
it's really cool. And then the guy who plays Genji and the guy who plays Hanzo, or no, the guy who plays Genji and the guy who plays Lucio. Genji, or the voice actor, he does a line for Genji, and then the guy who voices Lucio is like, Genji got no chill.
That guy who plays Lucio was like playing. He was messing around with a bunch of people at a con, so I was like, yeah,
it's cool. I mean, I wonder how these people get voice act. I mean, they must just do voice acting, period.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And then they just kind of got together. And I don't know if they really record stuff together, but they just might know each other because of these conventions. And then some of them form friendships. And then people probably just go nuts. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's Genji Lucio together. Like, you guys should talk like you're in the game. And it's just like, yeah, which is pretty fun. And I think they love doing it too. I think they just love to bust that out for people because people go nuts for it. It's just like you're Soldier 76? Like, it's like, That guy's really cool, by the way. I think his name is Fred Tatascore, who does Soldier 76. He did Damon Baird from Gears of War, so if anybody knows those games, It's the same guy. He also plays the Hulk a lot in like the animated shows. So yeah, he's pretty good. I want to do a whole episode just on voice actors, Joe, because voice acting is really cool. Like those people are horribly talented, and not just to do a voice, but to act and be that person or creature or whatever in a room all by yourself is pretty talented. So pretty cool. But
it's interesting because some of the voice actors almost resemble their character.
Oh, totally. Some of them definitely
like
McCree.
Lucy Paul, who plays Mercy.
She looked
like playing the character in real life. I mean, minus her hair. If she did the hair, it'd be like spot on. It's really interesting.
I think McCree's like the same way. I don't know if you can find him on there, but I think he looks like you could probably make him look like a cowboy and just have him go. You'd be like, there you go. I want to know the guy who does Roadhog, though. The guy who probably says like 10 words and laughs a bunch. It's like, he probably looks nothing like this gigantic, big pig.
I'm going to find it, Jimmy. Keith Ferguson, who plays Reaper, I never would have guessed.
Oh, really?
I never would have assumed that person playing Reaper.
I think I saw Lucio go up and talk to him at a con, and I didn't know, because it was like the guy did like a snap or like a Twitter thing, and he went up to him and he's like, hey, Reaper, and the guy, and he's like, get away from me, like, I'll kill everyone. He's like, oh, gotta get out of here. Like, it's like, oh, this guy's just eating up the Reaper voice. I was like, so good. But back to Overwatch, these shorts for a second, Joe. Would you want to see an hour and a half, 2 hour feature-length film in theaters with Overwatch characters? Like maybe, a handful of them, maybe all of them, maybe during like the golden days, and like the ending of the movie might be that final confrontation between Jack Morrison and Gabriel Reyes. Would that be something you'd want to see?
Yeah, I think it'd be great. I think Overwatch needs to do something, some sort of full feature animated film, or even adapt it to what's the word for that? Realism?
Oh, like live action?
Live action, yeah.
They could. There's just a little bit of exaggerated features and so colorful, the colorful nature of it. I'd rather have like a Netflix like TV deal where they do like 8 of them and like every episode is something different. Like that would be really cool. Like 20 minutes of each.
And you're right. I honestly can't really imagine a live action version of it.
It'd be hard. Like if Warcraft's having problems, it'd be like, oh gosh, like this might be really hard to do. But I like where your head's at because it means that we're passionate about it. And Blizzard, if you're listening, and I know you are, I would love, like, that would be so cool because that would give Pixar, Disney Animation Studios, DreamWorks a run for their money because they're that talented. I think this is in-house work that they do on these. I have to double check that, but I think this is like Blizzard is doing, like they say Blizzard Presents. It's not, it's like a whole division for their cinematics. And if you guys like these Overwatch ones, like seriously, check out like any of the World of Warcraft ones, even if you don't play that game, any of the StarCraft like 2 ones especially. Oh my gosh, like it's incredible. Like just truly a spectacle. Like each one, even if you don't know what's going on, it's like the quality, the pedigree of these things is just insane. And if you check it out, you won't regret it. You could watch this like this a movie night. Just do like 3 hours of just Blizzard cinematics. Just
yeah. FYI, the guy who plays McCree is awesome.
Yeah, he's in Critical Role, I think. By the way, like a big D&D group, I think.
Really? Either way, like he's McCree.
Yeah,
for sure.
Which is cool because that way he just walked in and just like dead eyes ready, kind of thing, and you're like, oh, all right, yeah, you got it. Yeah, man. Oh, I couldn't imagine going into Blizzard alone, but then just like going in there to record a voice or something or whatever they have to do. Like
the guy who plays Turbjorn.
Yeah, he's not like
it. And when he talks, he always got the exaggerated lip movement to get the accent.
Yeah, sure.
Lucio's asking the voice actor for McCree, hey, McCree, what time is it? He's like, I can't do a Lucio voice. Who can do that? Anywho, he's like, I think you know what time it is. Step off, Lucio. and the guy who plays Turbjorn comes in the back. He's like, it's high noon.
That's the thing about those voice actors. They're so, like, a lot of them seem so lively and friendly that when they get together, it's like so many people just like talking, and like they just if you were in the middle of that, it would just be overwhelming because they're all these intelligent, talented people. You'd be like,
Yeah,
like
they're
everyone's
totally into it, and they really embrace that.
yeah. And the cool thing is too, they like I recommend. I don't know if it's on Netflix anymore, but I think the name of the show or the movie was called "I Know That Voice." It was about voice acting. It's very cool, but they talk about they're kind of like they're celebrities, but no one would ever recognize them.
Yeah.
So you kind of walk out and you're just walking around the street, and no one's gonna be like, "Hey, you're the voice of Marcus Phoenix or whatever," and it's just like no one would know unless they're like a diehard fan, and you could run up and be like, "Oh my god, it's you!" and they'd be like, "How do you know?" And I'd be like, "I just do." So yeah, if you guys check that out, or they're on Twitter, a lot of them are very responsive too. So if you ever hear something and you really like it, you tweet at them, and like I've had a lot of them tweet back, just like, "Hey, thanks, man." Like that's cool because it's like, cool. I talked to to this person I'm a big fan of. So yeah, voice actors, Overwatch movie, do it. Let's do it. Golden Age before Overwatch fell. Let's just have that be the end, and then maybe a little recall, like a little shot to that, or the intro to Overwatch itself with Winston, which we didn't really put on here as one of the cinematics. I guess we could have, Joe, where Winston's sitting there talking about the former agents of Overwatch, but I think the other ones were kind of a better representation of it all. But yeah, man, they're all good. They're all just high caliber, all great. So please check them out if you have a chance. We'd love to know what your favorites are. Please let us know in the comments below, or maybe that'll be our community feedback question this coming week, Joe, for next week or something, talking about people's favorite Overwatch or just favorite cinematics in general. It's always fun to go through all those. So, all right, Joe, let's get to the next. Do you have something else you want to say?
No, all I can say is watching that video of all the voice actors. I don't know why. Apparently, I'm nerding out. I don't nerd out very often.
Dude,
but,
it's cool, isn't it? That's why you got to go to these conventions.
Part of me gets a little giddy when they talk in the voice. I'm like, oh my god, it came from something.
I know. We got to go to a convention to meet these guys and shake their hands. Be like, oh my god, like freaking Junkrat. But anyway, Joe, before we move on to the next segment of the show, I want to take a moment, and I wish you would take a moment with me to salute our commander, Jonathan Larson, our $100 patron. Jonathan, we thank you so much for your patronage, sir.
Yeah, I'll give him a good old salute.
Ha! And as Jonathan likes to say, their fate concerns me. Yours does not. Yeah, baby. Go play Darksiders 2. Anyway, but yes, thank you to Jonathan for that. That is huge, and we really appreciate that support. But Joe, now it's time to move into the segment that I like to call, that you like to call, that everyone likes to call Timekillers. That's right. It's time for Timekillers. The TV shows we've been viewing, the movies we've been watching, the games we've been playing, the cookbooks we've been attempting to read without salivating all over them. Joe, what you been killing time with, pal?
Been a busy few weeks for me, Jimmy, so I don't have much to bring to the table this week, but I will say I've been keeping up with in my leisure, listening to the Game of Thrones books on Audible.
Cool.
And yeah, I've been enjoying it. It's nice, and it's relaxing when you don't have to strain your eyes or find a light. You just plug in the headphones and lay down and listen. Or if you're at work, it's something that the time passes and you can do some monotonous data entry or something of that sort and enjoy it. So, and I also like the fact and this goes for all TV show or film adaptations from books. In the books, you can catch a lot more detail and maybe learn a bit more about the history of certain things, which I really enjoy. So it's been good. But other than that, of a lot. So
cool. Well, I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I haven't really had too much time doing other stuff either. But I will say this: if you have Xbox Gold, please, everyone do this. Go and download Trials Fusion right now. Trials HD was a game back on 360 where basically you were on a motorcycle and you had to go through various stages that you could also build eventually. And it was kind of physics based. So, going faster, like holding down the trigger would, accelerate, and left trigger would, reverse and all that. But you also could lean your rider kind of forward and backwards and kind of tip and do all this fun stuff with physics. But this game, Joe, is just a huge, it's a jump. just a huge jump, and it's so different from the first one. It just adds on. The first one was very industrial for the most part, and there wasn't like a lot of change in scenery. But this one, like every stage is something kind of different and crazy and nuts. And there's this fun kind of like these AI voices that are talking to you and kind of discussing about what's going on. And it's just crazy and wacky and fun. And when you finish a level, usually your guy crashes into something. And if you wait long enough, like you can see like a little end cinematic to like almost every stage. One of my favorites is like I ran into like this building. The building like shut like the door, and then it turned into a spaceship, shot up into the air, and then it kept going and going. And then I forget if it was Finish or Finn, but like the words popped out, or it said Trials or something, kind of like Alien does. Like it like all the letters like turned or something like that. And it was just like Trial. I was like, what? And it was just one stage. It's just like if you wait long enough at the end of a stage, you could see something crazy happen. And it's just a fun time. It's like it does get challenging, but it is just so much fun to just like hang out, just do a course, just try to get better, try to get the gold medal, try not to fall down or make a fault or whatever. Lots of checkpoints, so you don't have to feel bad about like screwing up or trying something. And you can restart a level with just like a touch of a button. So if you don't like how you're doing, you can just be like, boop, I'm starting again. And it is just so fast. It looks gorgeous, and it's just a fun time. So if you guys get a chance, please check out Trials Fusion, and just enjoy it. Just bask in it, the crazy weirdness of it all, and just the good times. Jolly vibes in that game. That's for dang sure. All right, Joe, time to move on to my favorite segment of the show, community feedback and questions. Now, Joe, what was the question we asked everybody last week? What was that again?
What was your favorite, or is your favorite, movie-going snack and beverage of choice?
Excellent. So here we got a write-in. We've got a lot of write-ins, so thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate it. The first one coming in from our buddy Starbucks Scully, Chris. He says nachos and cherry Coke, which I told Joe before the show. I've been thinking about that a lot ever since you wrote that, and I like the specificity with the Coke, with the cherry Coke and nachos. That sounds freaking delicious. That sounds really good.
I like that. You know, I'm a big cherry guy, so cherry Coke, for some reason, I don't drink it often or almost ever. Try next time I'm at the theater.
Dude, do it or order it out sometime, because some people will say like, hey, we don't have it like on the machine, but we can make you it with grenadine, and that's usually the better way to do it. I like mine. I call it the blood Coke because I like it to look a bit red. And people are like, Jimmy, that's a lot of grenadine. And I'm like, it's never enough.
Yeah, that's anyway. Like, yeah, just add a little more sugar to that, would you, sweetheart? I need diabetes a year sooner.
Yep, exactly. I'm running there. Anyway, our buddy Sean, a.k.a. Fraggin, says Cheez-Its and juice, or if it's winter, it will be hot cocoa. There you go. That's not a bad choice right there either. Our buddy Night Warrior says popcorn and fruit punch. And I think he clarified just saying regular popcorn. Hunter Pearson said Mr. Pibb and Red Vines equals crazy delicious. And he also has a gif here of Chris Parnell and Andy Samberg from Saturday Night Live just kind of head bobbing, just like, yeah, we cool.
What's Mr. Pibb?
Mr. Pibb is like Dr. Pepper.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's like that kind of like tons of flavors, but has like kind of a different tea cola flavor. It's so hard to describe. Anyway, our friend and captain over on Twitch, our moderator Anna Weird Girl, she says for theater it's popcorn, but at home it's ice cream. And Joe, she gets specific. She says preferably cookies and cream, or chocolate with bananas. Cookies and cream ice cream.
You're going to have to read that one to me again real quick. So she specified theater or home?
Yep, theater was popcorn. At the popcorn, she gets at the theater, but at home, she does ice cream. That's what she goes all out.
I like that choice. I'd probably do that depending.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. Plus, ice cream, we don't really have a lot of ice cream in theaters here in the States. It's mostly just ices, wouldn't you say, Joe? Yeah, I mean, you can get like little snack bars maybe. I mean,
sometimes, yeah, or sometimes if you're at a bigger theater, sometimes they'll have like
what?
So, sometimes if you're at like a bigger theater, they'll have like those Dippin' Dots.
Ah, sure. Those are actually like, I like those a lot. It's kind of weird to me, but I do like them. But yeah, I usually just like those ices. Oh boy, I really do like a Coke icy. Man, if they could make a cherry Coke icy, okay. Anyway, I'm losing my mind here. But yes.
You need to calm down, sir. Calm down.
I'm sorry, when we talk about cherry Coke and nachos, then I think of nachos, then I think of Ocean's 11 and just Brad Pitt just eating food all the time. And I'm like, all I want to do is get paid to be in a movie where I'm the cool guy who just eats food and just like constantly and just like eating shrimp or having ice cream. I'm like, live my dream, Brad Pitt. Okay. First question comes in from Night Warrior. He asks, if Batman was Robin, Joe, and vice versa, how successful do you think the movies would have been as a whole? So I'm going to take this as the actors more so, like if we flip Batman and Robin. So I'm thinking, you know, George Clooney and that other guy, if they would flip roles, and you'd have like a really, like either way, it'd be like an old Robin and like a young Batman, which would be kind of weird, but maybe kind of hilarious. Like, because you'd have to have Robin be like this kind of young punk, but he'd be like a lot older. Like, I don't know. Would that? I don't know if it would. I probably would have made them less successful. Honestly,
I think from a design standpoint, I think like Batman, his design speaks to a more brooding, grumpy type character or teacher per se.
Sure.
Whereas Robin, his colorful, tight getup is more sporty, fun, and more fast paced. Yeah. So I think the color helps that. So from an aesthetic standpoint, I think it'd be odd. Yeah, I don't know. That's something. That's a rabbit hole. I don't know.
Next question comes in from our pal Missile Mage. He says, I love mini games. What are some of your favorites? And are there any that you found very difficult or had to give up on? He says, for me, I always found Final Fantasy XIV's skipping rope challenge insanely hard, but Final Fantasy X's chocobo racing challenge might have broken a controller or two. For me, I've been playing Pokemon Stadium recently. It's like literally right here. Some of the best mini games of all time are in the Pokemon Stadium games. There's this one that I really love. I forget what the name of it is, but it's a bunch of Lickitungs eating a bunch of food. I love that one because there's just a buffet going around and there's eating. That might be one of my favorites. And then there's like always like Mario Party ones. Some of those can be like you want to crush somebody. You want to hurt somebody, because if you lose in those, I can't think of one specifically in Mario Party that I absolutely love though. But they're all pretty good. So I'd say like anything from Mario Party, but seriously, the Pokemon Stadium mini games are really good. Joe, I know you don't really play a lot of games with mini games, but are there any ones that you can think of that there's like a tiny little sub game that you could play that you really enjoyed? Like maybe, I guess a mode would be the closest thing. So maybe like the Mayhem mode for Overwatch. It's not a mini game, but it's like maybe the closest thing to like an offshot of the regular game.
Don't bring that up, Jimmy. Come on, you know what you've done. That Mayhem mode is definitely not a mini game. It's just like playing regular Overwatch, only it's insane and it is awesome. And it is probably the best way to play Overwatch, and I highly recommend it. If it's available, it's almost the exclusive way that I'd like to play it. I probably wouldn't play any other mode. It'd be Mayhem all day.
Fair enough. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
This one comes in from our buddy Ryan. He asks, with all game companies besides Sony are willing to have crossplay on their platforms, why do you think Sony doesn't want crossplay? Joe, why do you think Sony's all like, you know what, guys? No thanks. PC and Xbox and maybe Nintendo, they all want to like play together or whatever, but we aren't interested in it. Why do you think Sony wants to stay away from the rest of the crowd? They don't want to play ball with everybody. They're like, no thanks.
I think Microsoft makes more money I think they make a lot of money off of the PC games because Microsoft has more of a stake in the computer industry than Sony does.
Sure, and that's why they want to do the crossplay more, because they know that people will...
They make money either way, and if they promote both, they make money in both.
Yeah. I think that's smart, and I think maybe that's why Sony, you're right, they don't want to do the crossplay stuff, because then that would make people less exclusive maybe, and it's just like, they also said at one point, I remember a representative I think from Sony had said that they thought that like Microsoft's online community was kind of toxic and not great, but like any big, like crazy, like millions and millions and millions of people community like that for games specifically, like competitive gaming, like there's no way everyone's going to be like, well, you tried your best, like on like talking to people in any team game. So I don't think like Sony's like community is much like nicer than Microsoft's community by any stretch. And I think that was what they kind of like had put up as a barrier at first. But I know that Phil Spencer has said like he wants that, and I know a lot of obviously game developers would be cool with that because they just want everyone to play together and experience their games. And I get why Sony doesn't want to do it, but at the same time, I think eventually, hopefully, they break down their walls, because I would love, Joe, like, I know I've got a few buddies who are like on Sony, like they're kind of PlayStation centric, but it would be so cool if, like, for Destiny coming up, like I've got some buddies who probably are going to play it on there. If we could just say, hey, like anybody in our community, our Legionnaires, regardless of if you have it on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, doesn't matter. You can play with us. Like, just hop on tonight and we'll all just get in a party. And it's like, how cool would that be? Like, you and I are playing together, Joe, and we get, another person on a PC, another person on PlayStation 4, like 2 other people, just have like a whole group of 6. That'd be great. I just want all the games to come together online, because I think that would be a lovely thing. Don't you, Joe?
Aren't you scared that the players on PC would have an unfair advantage with a mouse?
Yes. So that's the trick. So like a lot of the games that have crossplay for like Gears of War 4 is an exact representation of that, but it's a third-person shooter. I think your first-person shooters, you're right, it could be problematic. So for competitive things like Destiny 2, maybe we could all play together for like the campaigns and the strikes and the raids, but then competitive was like, okay, Joe, you and I are going to be in the 2/3 majority of this, where we're playing against other PlayStation and Xbox users, and then the PC players would all have like specific servers and things, or just specific match types or games that they could only play together. Because you're right, there would be a discrepancy, and there would definitely be a skill change there. So that's a really good point, Joe. I think.
Yeah, like I don't know that I'd want to play Overwatch against a bunch of PC players, because the accuracy with like Hanzo or Widowmaker would probably drive me nuts. Can already be bad as it is, a little bit.
Yeah, no, definitely it is. There was one other question here from Anna, and I wanted to find it because she asked it a while ago.
Lay it on me.
I have to find it first, Joe. I have to find it.
Lay it on me. Lay it on me.
I'm going to tweet them all at Joe from now on. All right, here we go, Joe. Echo Critical, #Critical Podcast. What makes a franchise successful? What ruins a franchise? Should franchises come to an end at some point? It's kind of a big question. Don't you think, Joe?
Franchise, what does that cover? Does that cover film and game, or just game?
Yeah. No, it covers everything. It covers movies, TV shows, anything like that.
Yeah, so like the DCEU, here's something that will ruin it. Having 2 of the same character in 2 different films, like one separate from the DCEU, but it's yeah. We talked about last week the Joker character. They're going to do a separate like Joker film while they're using the Joker in the DCEU. Talk about stupid, confusing, and bullcrap. Like I said, it's like they had a conference call with Fox and said, guys, how'd you screw up X-Men so badly that people talk about it still and still hate your movies? Oh, well, it's easy. You just do this and make the timeline really confusing and make multiples of this character and that character. And here they go.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point. And I was going to report on that this week, but it just every week we don't know. For instance, we always hear like every week that Ben Affleck is like for sure out, like his brother one week. I don't know if we talked about that, but he was like, yeah, he's out for sure. And it's like maybe he doesn't talk to his brother that much or whatever. But yeah, if
if I was Ben Affleck and my brother was speaking for me, I'd probably have his head.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd call and be like, dude, you're not helping. Like the PR people are pissed. But you're totally right, Joe. I think what makes a franchise successful, I think, to me, I look at the MCU and I see how consistent it is. I see the quality is always there. And I see that typically, like on average, like their movies are really pretty solid and good and well received, both critically, financially, all that. And their worst movies are usually not like, to me, like maybe below like a 6 at the worst. So I think having that established there, and I think rewarding your fans is a cool thing to do. Like, don't make the movies just setup movies. I know a lot of people say that about Iron Man 2 or Avengers: Age of Ultron, like it's just setting up more stuff. But that's just what these are going to do. These franchises are just going to be setting up more of that, and I don't think it takes away from it. I think it rewards people who know about it. It gets them excited about it, and then making callbacks to previous films that don't necessarily like alienate the new people coming to see these things is really fun too. So like at Doctor Strange, when they talk about the Avengers, if you've never seen an Avengers film before, you might be like, oh, like what? But then when you know, like, or you're like, oh, I know the Avengers, obviously, and I know like, oh, that's an Infinity Stone, then you're like, okay, like that ties into the overarching narrative. So it doesn't make you feel like you're wasting your time with any one thing watching something. Because like you don't want to watch one of these movies and think, well, didn't need to see that. Like that would be that's a good way to make an unsuccessful franchise and kind of hamstring it, I think.
Let's think of this. Another good example I can think of is in the game world, For Honor. I really like that game. I've really been into it the past few weeks. I haven't played it so much this most recent week. Been tough turning the console on. But the game, I feel like it would have some legs and longevity if servers.
Yeah, the dedicated servers, they do need those.
Yeah. I mean, people having connectivity issues and issues getting in matches and long wait times is a good way to kill a franchise or the start of a franchise. So, and it's unfortunate. It can even be a really good game or a really good start to a franchise, and something like that can kill it. But it's a supporting factor. Another good example, I love Grand Theft Auto. I think you can have a ton of fun in there playing the missions and getting them set up and the heists and all that. But I can't get my friends to play it because they have connectivity issues. You know? But, and that might be a one-off issue. We know For Honor is not. That's more of a server issue. But I think that's one good example of how a franchise can die quickly. Honor is experiencing. I think there's still quite a community for it. You know, people online playing it and whatnot. But I think it's lacking or not as large of a community because of those issues. It's fizzled just a little bit. Grand Theft Auto, that's not the case. Obviously.
Sure. Yeah, that one's still like I still see updates for their online stuff all the time. I'm like, what? This is like it's crazy.
It's
like
some cool stuff too.
Yeah, sure.
It's large scale and very detailed, you know, like the things you're doing are kind of like it's cool. It really is. And I kind of want to pick it up again someday and perhaps maybe this weekend. I think it might be a good stream game. Problem is I got to install it again. And holy man, does that take a long time to install.
Why did you uninstall it?
I needed room, man. I don't have an external hard drive. Right now I'm hovering with enough space for one more game.
Did you download like Trials, or what did you download to take its place?
Well, For Honor, I put in Black Ops, Call of Duty, the old one. And I forget what the other games are on there that are taking up a lot of space, but I've got 2 MXGP games. So.
Oh, did you mean like Grand Theft Auto's taking up a lot of space, or For Honor's taking up a lot of space?
Grand Theft Auto takes up a lot of space.
Oh yeah, uninstall, dude. Uninstall. Yeah, that one is just like it takes up. It's huge. It's mad. Like I remember, I'd be like, oh my gosh, it's like that's a freaking huge game, and it's like to think that you can go.
There's a reason for it.
Oh yeah, no load times. You can drive across that whole place, just like. Yeah, that's cool. I think you nailed it.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Sorry, I had a little interruption in the signal there. How far out are we from Red Dead Redemption since we're speaking Grand Theft Auto?
I think they pushed it back, remember, to like April or May. It was like Q2.
Oh, my God.
It was going to come out this October, Joe, which I'm thankful it didn't because there's too many games coming out this October. Like they needed to push it back. Let it just kill in the spring. Let no game come out in like for a 2-month period. Just be like Red Dead. Be like,
okay, that's fine, but I won't lie, I was super amped for it. Now it's now it's right up there with Game of Thrones season 8. I feel like I gotta like find a time machine to travel ahead and see it.
I reminded you of that now that because we talked about that in the past getting pushed back, but I think it's good because we're talking about stigmas, Joe, and I think you really nailed it there. But a bad game, a rushed game with problems is seen that way forever, even if they fix it. And even Red Dead wouldn't be absolved of all sin if it came out a little too early and didn't have all the polish that everyone expects it to have. So honestly, for games, and I know they don't really do this with movies too much, but seriously, I'd rather you push it back like a half a year or 2 years or whatever it is to make sure the game is great, as opposed to having it come out half baked, because there's nothing more depressing than being excited about something like that and then just be like, delays are good things, guys. They're good things. So when it comes out, it's going to be incredible, and Joe and I are going to be playing it all the time. We're like, we're going to be banditos. I'm definitely dual wielding. If we get classes, Joe, and there's like a dual wielding class, I'm so taking it. I was like, I'm like so happy. Yeah. So great question. Great questions from everybody. Thank you so much. If you guys ever have a question for the show at any time, please, all you have to do is tweet the hashtag Critical Podcast to either of us. You can find me at Go Critical, or you can find me at JimmyGood013 over on Twitter. If you want to tweet at Joe, you just tweet at
Lever_627. That's Lever, just like Beaver, only with an L.
It's like, what? Did he forget? Did he have a stroke? He's just
I couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you couldn't hear me. I'm just shouting. Anyway, I want to just let you guys know that we are still streaming. Every week. I've been playing some Zelda Ocarina of Time here and there on Sundays. But if you guys ever want to see us on Twitch, just check us out over on Critical Reviews, our Twitch channel right there. It's in the links down below in the description as well. I want to thank a few people. As always, this is Dalen for that fun theme song music that I was humming this weekend. It's so good. Thank you so much. And to the one and only Your Nevers, who very kindly, Joe, you and I met up the other day in real life, which was always a treat. And he did a quick sketch of us that you guys can go see over on Twitter. And it's very, very good. It's just classic Your Nevers, just coming out of nowhere, just cutting me to the quick. And if you guys ever want a commission done of anything, he will do that for you. It's very good, very reasonably priced. And if you tell him that you know us, heck, he might even strike a deal with you. He's that kind of guy. But if you want something from Yorin and you want to support us, you want to do all these things at the same time because you're a multitasker and you love us, you want to see us get bigger and better and get better quality, better cameras, better mics, better lighting, all that stuff. All you have to do is check out patreon.com/critical reviews. Even if you throw us $1 a month would be huge.
$1 hair.
$1 what? No, don't give us $1. No, $1, $2, whatever it is, or just share us with a friend. We would really appreciate that. That would help us out a ton because we are growing steadily, slowly but surely. Next week it'll be pushed back a little bit for this show because I'm going to be going and attending PAX West over in Seattle. So I'll be back on Tuesday, which means we'll probably shoot on Wednesday. So please send us all of your PAX questions, all that stuff. And our community feedback question, I think, is going to be, what's your favorite Overwatch animated short? So please just, if you have one right off the top of your head, or if you get to watch a few, please tweet at us. Let us know. We want to know if you agree with us or if there's another one. We're like, oh, come on, guys. Like you got to focus on the best one, which is not any of the ones that you guys said. That Alive one is so good. So yes, thank you for everybody tuning in just for the first time, for the 76th time or whatever it is. We really appreciate it. We love you guys. You guys are the best. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for liking and sharing and retweeting. It really does help. And thank you so much for thank you so much for watching and loving us and all that stuff. And just love and hugs, and just remember to adapt and overcome. And we'll see you next time.